Okay. Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Remote Assistant Scout. I'm Inga. I'm here with the one and only Gerard. He is Richard Smith's virtual assistant and the guru behind Remote Assistant Scout. So today we're going to be talking about how to add 3 to 5 more transactions a month by having a virtual assistant. So Gerard's been working with Richard. I don't know if some of you might know this or not, but for the last 7 years, they've been a team together, and he's been able to help Richard and other LOs all across the country and agents, real estate agents, pair with other capable and other successful, excuse me, I can't talk today, virtual assistants to be able to help them increase their business as well. So we're going to be talking about the last 7 years. They've been a team. What? I'm getting some kind of feedback. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to add 3 to 5 transactions. But before I mention that, Gerard, you want to say hello to the rest of our audience today?
Yes, hello there. From the Philippines, and welcome to another edition of our live session today. And there's a lot of stuff that's you know um, gonna be shared today. So tune in.
Awesome. So I just want to start with a little story. And the reason I'm going to share this with you is because I think it's important for everybody to understand that as a solopreneur or a person that runs your own business. Like, I know you might work for Remax, or you may work for EXP Realty, or you may work for Home Depot, or whatever company you work for. You are still a solopreneur. You're basically a business person who's running a business via this organization. And you have the capability to have your own assistants and your own team. So you choose that you would sometimes have to pay for yourself. And the reason I'm even prefacing all that is that some places will give you an assistant, and that's awesome. Other places won't. So you have to make a decision of how you're going to actually execute your business so that you can grow. Hello, everyone. Well, why am I getting? What are you doing,
Yes.
Gerard? Are you playing with that book again? So I just keep hearing myself. So the reason why I even bring this up is because I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday, and he is one of the people I consider one of the most successful business people I know. He started a company from scratch and by himself. And, he was making $45 million a year. He was featured in Forbes and Wall Street Journal. And he's, in every single magazine that you could possibly for business of one of the most successful entrepreneurs. And I was kind of picking his brain about, what makes a successful business person. And the one thing that he mentioned that kind of struck a chord with me is that he said, Inga, he's like, if you really think that I could do all this by myself, he's like, I had to be surrounded by people that knew what they were doing. But when I was starting out, I couldn't afford to pay people top dollar for their knowledge, especially here in the States. I lived in California, and if I wanted an assistant to do anything, I would have to spend at least $65,000 a year on an assistant. He's like, I wasn't making $65,000 a year. How would I even go about and, pay someone that much money? He said, so I started thinking outside the box, and I thought, how can I get good help, reliable help, and someone that can do all the things that I don't know how to do? Set up a website, do social media, programming, marketing, things that I wasn't capable of doing. He's like, I'm a business mind. I can put all of the pieces together, but I couldn't necessarily do all the pieces myself. So what struck a chord with me is that he said, I found very inexpensive, very good help, and I did it overseas. And that's how I built my business. He said, my business was making $45 million a year. The only people that are on my pay staff that were making 6 figures were my accountants. And that's because I needed them to understand what was going on in the books. So everybody else that he had hired was virtual. And that really kind of resonated with me. I'm not saying that there's not great help here in the States. I'm saying that if you can't afford great help here in the States, and you need help with, you need somebody to help you with these things that you can't do, like social media all the time, or doing website development or programming, hire someone that has a talent, has a capability, speaks the language, and can do it while you're growing your business and your brand. That's all that I'm saying. I'm not advocating for not hiring people in the US. I'm not advocating for, not having, your local college grads get jobs, because I have kids that are going to be in college. I want them to get jobs. I'm advocating for the fact that if you're a business person and you're starting out and you need help and you can't afford it, well, don't do it alone. There's help out there. So definitely figure out where a virtual assistant fits into your business and make it work for you, because that's what companies are doing today. Unfortunately, it's just the way that it's set up. College costs, $45,000 a year here. Your college grad's not going to graduate and want to work for $10 an hour, folks. Sorry. So with that said, let's talk today about how to get 3 to 5 more transactions a year with the help of a virtual assistant. So Gerard, you've been doing this longer than I have. So you tell me, how do you help Richard get 3 to 5 more transactions a month?
Well, I guess I'm just going to answer that in my own standpoint, as well as, in a virtual assistant standpoint that we place to our lender, realtor, insurance agent clients here. I mean, there's a lot of factors that would actually contribute into having the additional 3 to 5 transactions per month. Let's say, the follow-up part. I mean, you always, if you're a business person, and if you're, in the real estate field, insurance, and as well as lending, I mean, you can vouch for that, Ms. Springman, that, follow-up is, very important. And, having to to stay on top of mind of this leads is, a huge contributing factor why, a Richard had, additional transactions in a month. And when I say follow-up calls, it's not just about your current leads. How about your past leads? I mean, we have clients here that, contact us because they are either purchasing leads online. They have the softwares that, actually providing them internet leads, and they are incapable of doing the follow-up calls because they're out there doing some appointments, doing some open houses. So that's the reason why they need to, or, it created the need for them to hire a virtual assistant, just to follow their follow-up system consistently. And then, just to have this impression of, staying on top of mind of your leads. And, with staying on top of mind, it will come to a point wherein you create this relationship with your leads, with your clients, for consistent follow-up, because whether you admit it or not, not everyone is ready to either, purchase a home right now, either to submit themselves into, personal insurances, or perhaps, get a mortgage loan. So if you're going to abandon these leads, you're losing business. I mean, we have discussed this before, that doing follow-up calls and, I'm doing it consistently with the help of a virtual assistant. And then again, we're not advocating of you not hiring people in the States. I mean, outsourcing has been, it has been existent, way before the virtual assistant industries. And here in the Philippines, there are a lot of, call center companies that are actually outsourcing their customer service out here in the Philippines. So that's pretty much, in the same wavelength.
That, you make a great point, Gerard, with the fact that if you have leads and you've spent money on them, or someone spent money on them, and you don't follow up on them, your ROI is, pretty much zero. Which is, if you don't know what ROI is, return on investment. 2, you basically are losing money, and that would affect your future business. And 3, you're missing out on opportunity. I would never put yourself in a position where you're purchasing things like leads without having some kind of follow-up system, whether it be automated or whether it be automated plus a virtual assistant, or whether it be someone that's, on your team that's calling them. People make the mistake of thinking that you get a lead, you make a couple of phone calls, and that's it. That's not how it works, guys. Science and studies have shown, well, it isn't really science, but it's not rocket science, at least. Studies have shown that most of the transactions occur after the 8th contact, okay? Most people will do business with you after the 8th contact. Do you have time to contact someone 8 times in a month? Sometimes you do, if that's the only person that you're talking to. And most of the time you don't if you're a busy professional. Even if you're doing a couple of transactions a month, you're still busy enough with all of the paperwork and all of the stuff that you're working inside that transaction that you don't have time to follow up even 2 times. So let somebody else do it. That's essential for your business growth. If you do nothing else ever again, hire someone or put something in place to follow up on the leads and the things that you've already purchased, even in the past year. Would you agree with me on that, Gerard?
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And this doesn't really apply to those people, or business people are purchasing leads. I mean, we have a lot of clients who are doing their own lead generation, or organically. Like, for example, for real estate investors, the usual way for them to do or to generate leads is to send out mailing campaigns. I'm not entirely sure if that's the right time. That's the right term, but usually, they leave their phone numbers there. They're going to purchase your house as is, with the right offer, and then they hire virtual assistants to transcribe the voicemails, and they hire another one to do the follow-up calls, do the follow-up emails, do the offer. So if you really don't have time to do all of these calls, if you are, number one, don't have time, if you are reluctant to do this type of calls, if you don't want to do the cold calling part, and if you want to get somebody's help with on a fraction of a price, and then having a virtual assistant is for you. I mean, don't get us wrong. I mean, virtual assistant is not for everybody, but if your business situation calls for it, and then a virtual assistant would be the convenient alternative.
So that's just one way. So leads is just one way. Current clients is another way, right?
Yeah,
cold calling. Yeah, cold calling. Like right now at this time of year, if you're a real estate agent and you want to tackle the FSBO market, for sale by owners that are pretty much on the market right now, that you think that you can help sell their house quicker, or they've been on the market for a while, or even expired listings. I'm in a situation where my listing just expired. I would assume that, all the realtors in the area would be calling me and saying, hey, I see your listing expired. Would love a chance to list your home. It hasn't happened. Shame on you folks if you're watching this, because I am looking for a new realtor. So regardless, I know it's not happening enough. And, I get it. Not everyone is that motivated in their business. But for those of you watching today, I hope that you're motivated enough to make those calls to potential clients. And if you can't do it, if you don't want to do it, like Gerard said, hire someone to do it for you. Just the follow-up itself is huge. Contact, cold calling, if you're a loan officer and you want to call your current clients and you just don't have time to call your past database, there's business in there that you are not tapping into. Those calls need to be made. Who's doing them? Oh, there goes my cat. So basically, with that being said, yeah, there's so many ways to, right?
Yeah, and with consistent follow-up and lead nurturing, what they say, that people who like and trust you will work with you. So along the way, if you are, nurturing this lead, checking up on them, especially if you're a lender or if you're a realtor, if you have this consistent follow-up system, and then, they will technically be impressed, or, have this impression that, this person is really wanting my business. And this person is, I'm really taking care of my interest. I'm keeping, following with me on a consistent basis. And that's the reason why, leads will eventually, submit themselves into doing business with you, because they like how you do business, they like how you follow up. And in some situations, realtors would hire, virtual transaction coordinators rather, just to make sure that all deals are on time, and these deals are not falling the cracks. And if you have a client having, a satisfactory working relationship with you, then eventually, you'll have repeat, clients, or perhaps referrals. And it happened to us. It happened to Richard, referrals, or repeat clients are coming in because of, us communicating with them, keeping their interest at best. So, that's really one way.
So I understand that a lot of you that are watching this might have at one point hired a virtual assistant and it didn't work out for you. For whatever reason, you hire them to cold call and set appointments for you. Okay. Setting appointments is one of the hardest tasks anyone can be given. Okay. Whether it's a virtual assistant or a professional, telemarketer, setting appointments is very difficult. It's a numbers game. And as many of you know, that's why you don't do it. You don't like to make those calls because it's very unsatisfying having been told no 100 times, and then maybe you get one yes. So with that said, it's not your virtual assistant's, fault that they're not getting as many appointments as you thought that you'd like them to get. It's the fact that it's a very difficult task and it's a numbers game. The more you call, the better chance you'll have that somebody will say yes. So if you haven't tried it yourself and you hire someone, your expectations need to be a little bit different. So I hear that all the time, like, oh, I hired a virtual assistant. I hired them to make appointments and they didn't make any appointments for me, or they made one appointment and they called all these people. Well, yeah, like anything else, you've got to call people multiple times and you have to be consistent and you have to lower your expectations. The fact that you're not going to get, you're not going to call 10 people and schedule 10 appointments. You might call 10 people and get one appointment, if that. So just, you be serious when you hire someone that you're hiring them with the right expectations of what you're going to do. So that's a little bit different than just follow-up calls, right, Gerard? Calling for setting appointments it's a difficult job, but the nice thing about the virtual assistant, that's Siri, she's serious, right? The nice thing about virtual assistants is that they're used to rejection with the ones that are trained in call centers, that they're not being rejected, so they don't care, they're going to keep calling. Whereas like if you get rejected, 99% of you will not keep calling people. I know that for a fact. So and there's been books written on it too, so if you haven't picked up those books, you should probably take a look at them. But my point is that hire someone to do those calls for you that you're not doing, and have the right expectations for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with appointment setting though, I mean, we've had not every week is like a Christmas week, because not everybody is either ready to get a home loan right now, or ready to meet Richard, or maybe a realtor not ready meeting Richard. But with constant and consistent follow-up, and that entails a lot of calling, a lot of follow-up calls, a lot of follow-up emails, adding them to social media. So we have created this impression that we're really good with with keeping in track with them, or keeping in touch with them. So again, it boils down into the saying that people will work with you if they like and trust you, and that's the mentality of it. And not everybody will say yes now, but as what you mentioned, Ms. Springman, earlier in the live, that statistically they will say yes on the 8th call. Is that right?
After the eighth contact, most of the transactions, most of the people will say yes. It might be 3 years if it takes you that long to make 8 calls, but it happens. I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday on our loan officer training call, and he said, I've been calling these people for 3 years, and they finally agreed to meet with me. 3 years, just imagine, like, if you call someone for 3 years, and would you keep calling them? Most people wouldn't keep calling them, right? Like, most people be like, "Oh," but if you hired someone and said, listen, you just keep calling this person for every week. I don't care what they say to you, every week, unless they file a restraining order against you, and then try to get me this appointment. That's their job. They're going to keep calling. Whereas you would take it personally after the 10th call and say, I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to keep calling these people because they've said no to me, right. Whereas, like, if Gerard was hired to call someone, until they said yes, Gerard, wouldn't you keep calling them until they said yes?
I will.
Which I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've called people for Richard on Richard's behalf more than a dozen times until they've agreed to either meet or sit down and talk with Richard in some capacity, correct?
Yes, and not just about calling, reaching out to them, through social media, contacting them through email. So it's an amalgam of marketing strategy. It's not really all about calling. And a great part of having a virtual assistant is you can just delegate anything for as long as it can be done online. So virtual assistants could be responsible for handling your social media too, along with the follow-up calls, and maybe create some newsletters and implement your email marketing strategies.
Right.
So
I want to kind of just bring this up real quick. Not to, some of you might not know, I help Scott Hudspeth run Agent Mastermind, and we always have classes, every week on different topics for real estate agents. It's the largest real estate online training in the country, and we have a lot of loan officers that participate as well. But the one thing that I want to tell you guys is that next week we have a class that talks about how to get all the numbers in your neighborhood. Like, when you see a couple houses go off on the market right now in real estate and you see how quickly they're selling, guess what? If you don't have the numbers of all the neighbors in that neighborhood, you're missing out on business opportunity. And I tell that to all of the agents and the loan officers that I work with, because there's a shortage of houses, and you see people are, houses shows up on the market, the next day it's sold. The fact is, if you have those phone numbers and you have someone that can call those people for you in that neighborhood and say, hey, Mr. Smith, your neighbor's house just sold. I have a client that might be interested in exactly the same house that you have. Would you be interested in talking? That's a strategy that not a lot of people use, but is very, very successful with those successful agents and those successful LOs that are in business today. So with how that, why I'm even talking about it is that you need someone to call those people for you. You're not going to want to call all the people in the neighborhood. You might live in that neighborhood, so you might want to hire someone to call every single house that is in that neighborhood where houses are selling quickly and say, hey, you know what? Mr. Smith asked me to call you because your neighbor's house just sold, and I have a client for you if you're willing to put your house on the market. So if you're not utilizing that strategy this spring, I guarantee you'll be kicking yourself up come winter.
So Ms. Springman, so let me ask, why a virtual assistant from the Philippines?
Right, absolutely. Why a virtual assistant for the Philippines? Well, you know what, I've been around you, Gerard, for the last couple of years. I've trained virtual assistants that we've hired for different things like cold calling and marketing. So I've had the opportunity to meet a number of virtual assistants one-on-one over Skype. I mean, obviously not in person, but talk to them on the phone. And I feel like virtual assistants in the Philippines are trained for this kind of career. This is what people want to do for a living. It's a prestigious job. It's not just like, I have to work in a call center here in the United States. People in the Philippines actually want jobs like these. They train for, customer service, for telemarketing, for marketing, for website development, for social media. So I think the knowledge base of the workforce in the Philippines that want this kind of opportunity is huge. And their English is really, really good. The dialect, from what I understand, is very similar to a small subset of the California population. It's a very similar kind of dialect. So the English is right on. I mean, they probably speak better English than I do sometimes, But I definitely think that this particular country has a amazing opportunity for workers that want this kind of job. So I don't know where anywhere else where you go. Like, I know people said, oh, if you want a programmer, go to India, or if you want, this, go to this country. But I don't know. I've never personally used any other country's resources other than the Philippines, and I've always had good success, and I've had positive results. And I know the people that I work with, the loan officers, real estate agents, insurance agents that have hired people from the Philippines, have had good success as well. Not everybody, obviously. If you go on some of those sites like Upworks or wherever, and you think that you can do this yourself, I'm not saying that everybody is going to be amazing, like Gerard and the people that I've worked with, but I'm saying that, like, Gerard takes the guessing game out of who's amazing and who's not. So, that's the difference. So I've only met amazing people that have been great fits for the clients that Gerard works with. So that's been my experience.
Okay, all right. And if you guys wanting to learn more about how a virtual assistant could assist you, you can just message here, or message us here on a remote assistant scout. Send us a DM, and we'll contact you back within 24 hours.
And waiting someday to implement this type of person in your business is probably a day too late, because your business needs to grow now. Now's the time. Spring is here. People are super busy. I know that I've talked to tons of my real estate and LO friends. They can't even get on the phone with me because they're not even going on spring break. That's how busy it is, because they're so busy with their business right now. And now's the time to do it. Now, when you're busy is a time that you need to have more things lined up for when you start slowing down. So I would definitely get a hold of Gerard. I'd get a hold of Richard. I'd get a hold of somebody that can help you with your business, whether it's, hiring a virtual assistant just for the follow-up and just to keep you, in check, in your calendar in check, or someone that you want to schedule appointments and cold calls and is calling FSBOs and neighbors in your neighborhoods that you're farming. So with that said, you guys will be back here next week, same time, same channel. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Richard or Gerard. They are always a wealth of knowledge. They've been doing this for years. And if you need their help, they're the best in the business.
All right. Thank you, guys. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, Ms. Springman.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.